One who does not understand himself can never understand the world. Thunder roared. The wind lashed against the cliffs. Rakai halted, his sharp gaze piercing through the darkness. "I don't have time," the silver wolf growled. "We all have time," Vaelor replied, his wings spread wide in the shadows. "It's only a matter of how you use it. I need answers. Then be ready, Rakai." Vaelor's voice was as cold as steel. The truth is never easy to swallow. Part 1. Betrayal, the fall of a king. The wind howled through the trees, carrying the scent of blood and betrayal. Footsteps rumbled against the earth, growing closer. A ring of golden eyes gleamed in the darkness, locking onto him, not with respect but with contempt. Rakai stood, battered and bleeding, surrounded by his own pack. His body ached, his fur matted with dirt and streaked with crimson. He had once been king of this land, the strongest, the fastest, the untouchable. But kings do not fall in glory. They fall in silence, swallowed by the shadows of those they once ruled. A figure stepped forward from the pack. Cain, his once loyal second-in-command, now his usurper, black-furred, towering, eyes cold as steel. He smirked. Rakai, the name hung in the air. Once it had shaken the forests. Once enemies had whispered it in fear. Now it was nothing but an empty echo of a fallen king. Cain's voice was slow, deliberate, each word sinking into Rakai like fangs. "Your name used to mean something. But tell me, does a name still matter when its owner is broken?" A low growl rippled through the pack. Some wolves averted their eyes. Others curled their lips in amusement. Their choice had already been made. Rakai exhaled, chest rising and falling heavily. This was not a battle. This was an execution. And deep down he had seen it coming. It had started with one mistake. He had led them after a mighty elk, a prize that should have cemented his dominance. But arrogance had blinded him. The elk had fought back. One young wolf had been gored, his spine snapping like dry twigs. Another had its leg crushed beneath a powerful hoof. And just like that, the whispers began. Is Rakai getting weaker? Did he misjudge the hunt? Maybe he's not fit to lead anymore. Doubt was a poison. It seeped into the bones of the pack, tainting every look, every step. By the time Rakai realized how deep it had spread, it was already too late. Cain took another step forward, his golden eyes burning with something Rakai had never seen before. Certainty. "Your time is over." Rakai let out a slow, mocking grin, blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. "Then prove it." And Cain did. The pack erupted in howls as the two wolves collided like crashing storms, fangs snapping, claws tearing through fur and flesh. Rakai was faster, his movements honed by years of battle. Cain was stronger, his bulk giving him the advantage in raw force. Fang met fang, claw met muscle. The ground beneath them turned red. Then a brutal twist. Cain's weight slammed into Rakai's injured side, sending him crashing down. Before he could rise, Cain was on top of him. Fangs clamped around his throat. Everything went still. The pack's howls faded into silence. Heavy breaths, the scent of dirt, blood, and something worse, failure. Rakai's legs twitched beneath Cain's crushing weight. His body screamed for him to fight, but he couldn't. He had lost. Cain's hot breath ghosted over his ear. "It's over." The pressure on his throat released, but before Rakai could move, Cain's paw slammed against his chest, pinning him down. A fallen wolf never rises again. No hatred, no rage, just finality. Rakai lay there panting, blood pooling beneath him, and for the first time in his life he felt small. Cain turned to the others. Throw him off the cliff. A ripple of satisfaction ran through the pack. Two wolves stepped forward, fangs clamping onto Rakai's scruff. He snarled, he struggled, he fought, but it was useless. They dragged him through the dirt like prey. And then there was no more ground beneath his feet. The edge of the cliff loomed before him. The moon hung overhead, bright and indifferent. Behind him, the pack stood still, watching. Not one of them stepped forward. Not one of them looked away. There was no mourning for a fallen king. Cain approached, his shadow stretching over Rakai's limp form. He leaned down, voice a quiet whisper against the wind. "Goodbye, old Alpha." And with a final push, Rakai fell. The wind roared past his ears. The world spun. His body plummeted, weightless, into the abyss. The last thing he saw was the moon, small and distant, disappearing as the darkness swallowed him whole. Part 2. From Hell to the Howling Peak. falling. The wind screamed past his ears. The world spun, bled, silver streaks of moonlight flashing between the trees below. Rakai's limbs thrashed, but there was nothing to hold on to, just the empty void dragging him down, down, down. Then impact. A blinding pain tore through his side as he crashed through tree branches, snapping them like brittle bones. Crack! His body slammed against a jagged rock before rolling down a slope of loose dirt and stone. The last thing he remembered before the darkness took him was the overwhelming taste of blood. The edge of death. Silence. Then faint buzzing like distant flies over carrion. Slowly, pain. A deep, burning ache that spread through every inch of his body. Rakai's eyes flickered open. The world blurred. His head pounded. His ribs screamed with every shallow breath. For a moment he didn't move, didn't think, didn't feel. Then realization hit. He was alive. Barely. His body lay sprawled at the base of a ravine, surrounded by twisted roots and jagged rocks. The scent of damp earth and old blood filled his nostrils. Above him, far beyond the cliffs, his pack still roamed free. Cain still ruled. And Rakai, he was nothing. A growl rumbled deep in his throat, but it was weak. His limbs trembled as he tried to push himself up. Pain exploded through his chest. A broken rib? Several. He gritted his teeth and forced himself to stand, because if he stopped now, he would die here. The land of the dead. The sun had long since set, leaving the forest in an abyss of shadows. The trees here were ancient, suffocating, their roots curled like the fingers of long-dead giants. The air was thick with decay. This was uncharted territory, a place no wolf dared enter. A place for the desperate and the damned. And the damned. And the hunters here were not kind. Somewhere in the darkness, a pair of yellow eyes blinked open. A low hiss slithered through the air. Rakai froze. The shadows shifted. A shape emerged from the undergrowth, a vulture, massive, with hollow eyes and a beak stained crimson. Not alone. Above, a flock of carrion birds perched on the gnarled branches, watching, waiting. A chill ran down Rakai's spine. They thought he was already dead. He bared his teeth, forcing a snarl past the pain in his chest. Not yet. The lead vulture tilted its head as if amused. Then it lunged. The fight for survival begins, everything blurred into pain and instinct. Rakai ducked, talons sliced through the air, missing his throat by inches. His legs screamed in protest, but he lunged forward, fangs snapping. He caught feathers, no flesh. A mistake. A second vulture struck from behind. Claws raked his shoulder, sending him stumbling. He twisted, snarling, but his vision swam. Too slow, too weak. The Rakai of before would never have struggled like this, but the Rakai of before was already dead. The lead vulture screeched, wings spread wide, talons glinting. The final blow. Then a voice. You look like shit. A stranger in the darkness. A shadow leaped from the trees, faster than Rakai could track. The vultures scattered as something small but fierce barreled into their leader, sending it crashing to the ground. A flash of fur, a sharp yelp. The vultures shrieked in fury, but they didn't stay. Within seconds they melted back into the treetops. Rakai blinked, his vision swayed, and then he saw him. A small, wiry creature stood before him, fur a mess of dirt and age. Sharp, beady eyes gleamed with amusement. A jackal! The stranger grinned, showing far too many teeth for someone so small. Well, look at this. A wolf that fell from the heavens. Rakai said nothing. The jackal circled him like a predator assessing its meal. I've seen many things in this forest, many creatures, many dead things, and yet... He leaned in, sniffing the air around Rakai. You're still breathing. His grin widened. Interesting. Rakai's patience snapped. Who the hell are you? The jackal's eyes twinkled with mischief. Just an observer of the dying and the damned. He clicked his tongue. And you, my friend, are both. Rakai bared his teeth, but the jackal only laughed. Easy now, wolf. I mean no harm. He took a step back, gesturing toward the dark forest beyond. But if you don't want to end up as vulture food, you should start moving. Rakai exhaled sharply, legs trembling beneath him. He didn't trust this creature. But he had no choice. Not yet. The jackal watched him for a moment, then turned, trotting ahead. Over his shoulder he called back. You're lucky, you know. There's a place for creatures like you, a place where only those who refuse to die find themselves. Rakai didn't respond. He just followed, because he knew. He wasn't done yet, and if there was still a path left to walk, he would walk it, no matter how much it bled. Part 3. The Ascent to the Howling Peak. The first betrayal came from his pack, the second from his own body. Rakai limped through the frozen wasteland, his breath sharp and ragged. The jackal had led him this far, through the forest of the dead, past the river where no life grew. But now the creature was gone, and he was alone once more. Above him the peak loomed, a jagged, merciless tower of stone and ice. The Howling Peak. They said no beast could survive the climb. The wind here was a living thing, stripping flesh from bone. But Rakai wasn't here to survive. He was here to be reborn. The storm rises. The first steps were easy, the second less so. By the time he reached the first ledge, his legs were shaking, his breath coming in short, painful bursts. The air was thinner, colder. His lungs screamed for relief. Then the storm came. The wind struck like a blade, slicing through his fur, burning his skin. Snow pelted him, biting into his wounds. Still he kept moving. His paws slipped against the ice. His claws bled as they scraped for grip. But he didn't stop, because behind him, somewhere in the shadows, something was following him. A presence in the snow. Rakai wasn't sure when he first heard it. A whisper against the wind, a crunch of snow that didn't belong to him. He turned sharply, nothing but white. But the feeling remained, a presence, watching, waiting. Then it came, a shadow moved in the blizzard. Not a wolf, not a bear, something worse. A phantom. Rakai's fur bristled, his body already battered and weak, prepared for battle, but the thing didn't attack, not yet. It circled him, slowly, deliberately. Then the whisper came, a voice he hadn't heard in so long. You were never strong enough. Rakai froze. His chest tightened. He knew that voice. It came from the past, from the pack, from Cain. No, this wasn't real. But the shadow moved closer, taking shape. Cain stood before him, eyes burning like embers in the night. You never deserved to lead, Rakai growled, shaking his head. You're dead to me. Then why do I still own your mind? The phantom lunged, and the storm devoured them both. The fall. That was all he knew. Rakai crashed against the rocks, tumbling down the icy cliffs. He hit the ground hard, his vision blackening for a moment. When he opened his eyes, the phantom was gone, but the damage was done. He was broken. A cruel laugh echoed in his mind, his own self-doubt whispering its final verdict. You were never strong enough. He lay there, staring at the darkened sky, the snowflakes melting on his wounds. This was it. This was where he died, alone, forgotten. Rakai, the name meant nothing now. His eyes flickered shut, and then a gust of wind, stronger than before. The snow around him shifted. A shadow passed overhead, not the phantom, something else. Golden eyes staring down from the heavens. The eagle descends, the world blurred. The storm howled, but above it the sound of wings. Then came the voice. You look pathetic, deep, smooth, absolute. It wasn't comforting. It wasn't kind. It was truth. Rakai stirred, forcing his eyes open. The storm had cleared just enough for him to see a massive eagle perched on a rock above, gold and white feathers, talons digging effortlessly into the stone, fierce, ancient, unwavering eyes. Rakai coughed, his body screaming in protest. Who are you? He rasped. Vaelor tilted his head. That depends. His beak clicked. Are you still Rakai? The words struck deeper than any claw. Rakai opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Vaelor watched him for a long moment. Then, spreading his massive wings, he simply said, If you don't know, then I have no reason to save you. And he turned away. Rebirth. Rakai's heart slammed against his ribs. No, not again. He had been thrown away once. He had been cast aside like nothing. He wouldn't let it happen again. He dug his claws into the ground, forced himself up. His legs screamed. His vision blurred. But he stood. I am Rakai! The mountain trembled. Vaelor paused. Slowly he turned back. For the first time his golden eyes gleamed with something different. Not pity. Not amusement. Recognition. Vaelor nodded once. Good. Then, without another word, he spread his wings and flew. Rakai watched him disappear into the storm. Then, with one final breath, he began to climb again. This time, he would make it to the top. No matter what waited for him there. partful impermanence. Nothing lasts. Rakai's legs still ached from the climb, but he forced himself to stand tall. The storm had faded. Now the peak stretched wide before him, an endless sky above and an abyss below. High above, Vaelor glided effortlessly, wings barely moving. Rakai watched him, jaw clenched. There was something infuriating about the ease with which the eagle moved, while he himself had nearly died getting here. The eagle's golden eyes flickered down at him. You look like a wolf who still believes he controls the world beneath his paws. Rakai exhaled sharply. I was an alpha once. I led my pack. I built everything with my own strength. Vaelor made a low, amused noise. Ah, and where is that pack now? Rakai's claws dug into the stone. The answer was obvious. Gone. Vaelor landed on a jagged rock nearby, his talons gripping effortlessly. Everything you built, everything you held on to, it's dust now, isn't it? Rakai's ears twitched, irritation growing. What's your point? Vaelor tilted his head. That storm you walked through, did you try to stop it? The wolf frowned. Of course not. That would be impossible. Then why, Vaelor said, do you still fight against things that were never meant to stay? Rakai opened his mouth, then shut it. Something about those words stung more than they should have. The eagle let out a sharp whistle. Come, there's something I want to show you. A walk through the sky. Vaelor led Rakai toward a narrow ledge, so thin it seemed barely able to hold weight. Rakai hesitated. You want me to cross that? Vaelor spread his wings. I won't be crossing. I have wings. Rakai's tail bristled. This bird was insufferable. But he took a step forward, then another. The rock beneath him felt solid until it didn't. A deep crack echoed beneath his paw. Before he could react, the stone crumbled away beneath him. Rakai plunged. His heart lurched into his throat. He scrambled, claws scraping against the cliffside. At the last second, his paws caught onto a lower ledge, leaving him dangling over the abyss. Above, Vaelor peered down, looking
like
utterly
a quiet
unimpressed.
storm that clouds your mind and robs you of your peace.
Rakai snarled.
It's all too easy
You knew
to
that
get...
would happen. Of course, Vaelor said matter-of-factly. Nothing lasts forever. The first lesson. Rakai dragged himself back up, breathing hard, adrenaline still burning in his veins. Vaelor was waiting for him. The eagle's sharp eyes locked onto him, unblinking. You hold on too tightly, Wolf. You think you can control the shape of the world, but the world moves without you. Rakai sat heavily, muscles still aching. What's your point? Vaelor clicked his beak. Let me tell you a story. The eagle lifted his head toward the sky, watching the shifting clouds. There was once a young eagle. He built his nest in the highest tree, stronger than any before him. He believed it would last forever. He believed that as long as he stayed, nothing could touch him. Rakai listened, silent. Vaelor's golden eyes darkened slightly. Then one day the wind changed. The sky grew violent. The rains tore at the branches, and his nest, his perfect, unshakable nest, was gone. The eagle's voice was steady, but Rakai could sense the weight behind the words. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Vaelor turned to him. Tell me, Wolf, was that nest ever truly his? Rakai frowned. Of course it was. He built it. But could he keep it? Rakai opened his mouth, then hesitated. The eagle's voice was calm, unwavering. We spend our lives building things we believe will last, but nothing does. He gestured toward the mountains behind them. Seasons change, packs rise and fall, the strongest wolves grow old, and storms. His gaze flicked down to the now empty ledge where Rakai had fallen. Wash everything away. Rakai's ears flicked back. So you're saying I should just accept losing everything? Vaelor chuckled. Did I say that? Rakai blinked. The eagle stretched his wings slightly, letting the wind lift him for a moment before settling back down. The young eagle in my story? He didn't build again, and again, until he learned that the nest was never meant to last. There was something unsettling in the way those words settled in Rakai's chest. Vaelor's gaze locked onto him, sharp as ever. You can keep fighting the storm, Wolf, or you can learn to ride the wind. The realization struck like thunder. Everything Rakai had ever built, his title, his pack, his strength, had been things he believed belonged to him, but they were never truly his. They were borrowed, temporary, and now they were gone. For the first time in a long time, Rakai felt light, not broken, not defeated, just unburdened. Vaelor watched him closely. Then, with a flick of his wings, he turned toward the sky. "Come find me when you're ready for the next lesson." And with that, he took off. Rakai watched him disappear into the clouds, his mind still spinning. He didn't know if he was ready for the next lesson, but for the first time, he wanted to be. Part Num, Karma, the Shadows of the Past. Rakai's breath came slow and steady as he padded through the high mountain path. It had been 2 days since Vaelor's first lesson, 2 days since he had begun to see the world differently. He no longer tried to control everything. The storm would come and go, rocks would crumble, nothing was his to keep, but something still felt off. There was a weight on his chest, a feeling he couldn't shake. Vaelor had been unusually quiet. No sarcastic remarks, no sharp-eyed tests. The eagle merely soared overhead, watching, waiting. That was the worst part. Then Rakai's ears twitched. A sound. Faint but close. Then a sharp snap of a twig. His body tensed. Instinct took over. He turned just in time to see a blur of fur lunging at him. Teeth sank into his shoulder. Claws tore at his side. Rakai snarled, twisting violently, throwing his attacker off. The figure rolled, then sprang back to its feet, a young wolf. Thin, malnourished, eyes burning with something Rakai recognized all too well. Rage. A second shape emerged from the shadows, then a third. Before he knew it, he was surrounded. The young wolf's lips curled back in a snarl. "You remember me, Alpha?" Rakai's chest tightened. The voice? It was familiar. He scanned the faces of his attackers, something clawing at the edges of his memory. Then it hit him. They were from his old pack. Not the strongest, not the warriors, the outcasts, the ones he had abandoned. The young wolf took a step forward. His fur was matted, his ribs visible beneath his skin. "You left us," he growled. Rakai exhaled, his stance shifting. "I had no choice." "Liar." The second wolf spat. "You had every choice. You just never looked back." Rakai felt a sharp, stinging weight in his chest. He had left them. Long before Kane's betrayal. Back when he was still Alpha, he had driven out the weak, the sick, the ones who couldn't keep up. They had been liabilities. Now they were here, and they wanted justice. Rakai braced himself, 3 against 1. He was stronger, but he was still weak from his injuries. And worse, he didn't want to kill them. They lunged. Rakai dodged the first strike, his paws skidding against loose gravel. A second wolf clamped onto his hind leg, dragging him down. He kicked out hard, sending the attacker flying, but the young wolf was already on top of him, jaws snapping inches from his throat. Rakai snarled, but he hesitated. These weren't enemies. They were consequences, and consequences always came back. A gust of wind tore through the battlefield. Then a deafening screech. Vaelor descended like a meteor, his massive wings sending dust and debris flying. The young wolves staggered back, their ears flattening. Vaelor landed beside Rakai, golden eyes burning with unreadable intensity. The air went still. Then the eagle spoke. "Do you understand now?" Rakai's breath was heavy, his heart pounded. He didn't answer, but he did. Everything comes back. Vaelor's gaze swept across the wolves before him. "Leave." The young wolf hesitated, but there was something in the eagle's voice, something ancient and final. Without another word, they melted back into the shadows. Rakai watched them go. Not as Alpha, not as prey, just as a wolf who had set something in motion long ago and had finally seen it return. Vaelor turned to him. "You thought you were free of the past." Rakai exhaled. "I was wrong." The eagle tilted his head. "And what will you do next time, when the wind carries your past sins back to your doorstep?" Rakai was silent for a long moment. Then, softly, he said, "I won't turn away." A flicker of something, approval, crossed Vaelor's gaze. "Good," the eagle murmured. "Then perhaps you are ready for the next lesson." Rakai looked up. "And what lesson is that?" Vaelor spread his wings. "A lesson that will cost you more than your pride." Then, with a powerful beat of his wings, he took to the sky, and Rakai followed. Parts oak, attachment and suffering, the weight you carry. Rakai had always believed that pain came from wounds, from claws and teeth, but now, as he stood in the valley below the howling peak, he realized pain also came from holding on. The scent hit him first, familiar, faint but unmistakable. Wolf, not just any wolf. His pack. Rakai's heart pounded. His legs moved before his mind could catch up. He ran, through the trees, past the river, across the open plains, until he saw them. A small group of wolves, battered and thin, but alive. For a moment the world stilled. They hadn't all followed Cain. Some had survived. Some still needed him. A warmth spread through his chest. For the first time since his fall, he felt whole again. Then Vaelor landed beside him. The eagle's gaze swept across the scene, unreadable. And what will you do now? Rakai's ears twitched. I'll go to them. Vaelor was silent. For a long moment Rakai thought the lesson was over. Then the eagle spoke. And what if they are the chains that keep you on the ground? Rakai's breath caught. His fur bristled. What are you talking about? Vaelor's wings spread slightly, golden in the dim light. Go, see for yourself. Rakai hesitated. Then he moved. As he approached, one of the wolves lifted their head. Their eyes met. Recognition flickered. Then something else. Not relief, not joy. Fear. The others turned, their bodies stiffening. Rakai slowed. Something was wrong. He took another step. Then the growl came. Low. Warning. Rakai stopped cold. One of the wolves, a female he had once fought beside, stepped forward, baring her teeth. You shouldn't be here. Rakai's breath felt heavy. I thought, he shook his head. I thought you needed me. A second wolf, older, limped closer. His voice was rough, tired. We did. Rakai frowned. Then let me help. The female stepped forward, snarling now. You don't understand. We can't follow you anymore. The words hit harder than any claw. But I'm here now, Rakai said, almost desperate. The old wolf cut him off. We don't belong to you anymore. It was over. Rakai stood frozen as the truth sank in. They weren't his pack anymore, and they never would be again. The wolves turned. Slowly, one by one, they walked away, not out of hatred, not out of anger, but because they had already let go. And now Rakai had to do the same. His claws scraped against the dirt. A snarl built in his throat, not at them, but at himself. At the emptiness that threatened to consume him, at the truth he didn't want to face. A gust of wind swept past him. Vaelor stood nearby, watching. Why does this hurt more than battle? Rakai muttered. The eagle's golden eyes were calm. Because wounds heal. He tilted his head slightly. But you're still holding on to something that's already gone. Rakai exhaled sharply. His tail flicked, tense. So what? I should just forget them? Did I say that? Rakai's eyes narrowed. The eagle lifted a single talon, tracing slow circles in the air. You lost your pack long before Cain took your throne. You just refused to see it. The truth cut deep. You clung to a title, Vaelor continued, to the idea that they would always be yours, but nothing lasts forever. Not a storm, not a name, not even loyalty. Rakai's ears flattened. Then what's the point? Vaelor's gaze darkened. The point? In a single motion he struck. His massive wing slammed against Rakai's side, sending the wolf sprawling into the dirt. Before Rakai could even recover, Vaelor landed beside him, pressing one sharp talon against his chest. You are a fool if you think letting go means losing everything, the eagle hissed. Rakai growled, struggling beneath the weight. Then what does it mean? Vaelor lifted his wing, stepping back. His voice softened, but only slightly. It means you stop carrying what was never meant to be yours forever. Rakai lay there, breath ragged. The emptiness in his chest was still there, but it felt lighter. He sat up slowly. His pack was gone, but he was still here. He wasn't sure if he was ready to accept that, but maybe, just maybe, he would learn. Vaelor watched him for a long moment. Then, with a flick of his wings, he turned toward the sky. Come find me when you're ready for the next lesson. And with that, he took off. Rakai exhaled, looking back one last time. The valley was empty now, but for the first time he wasn't trying to hold on to it. With a deep breath, he turned and followed the wind. Acceptance, the trap of resistance. The wind carried the scent of blood. Rakai's breath was sharp, his paws digging into the dirt as he stood frozen at the edge of a deep ravine. Behind him, a predator unlike any he had ever faced. It wasn't a wolf, it wasn't a bear, it was something worse. A mountain lion, sleek, powerful, its amber eyes locked onto him with a predator's cold calculation. It was uninjured, rested, ready. Rakai was not. His body still bore the wounds of his last fight. His muscles burned with exhaustion, but there was no time to think. The beast lunged. Rakai dodged, barely. He twisted, claws scraping against the loose ground. The ledge beneath his paws crumbled. For a split second he was weightless. Then he fell. Rocks tore into his sides. as he tumbled down, crashing against jagged stone. When he hit the bottom, pain exploded through his body. His vision blurred, his breath ragged. He tried to move, but couldn't. His leg, something was wrong with his leg. Rakai gritted his teeth, forcing himself upright. But the moment he tried to stand, agony. A sharp, searing pain shot through his hind leg, sending him collapsing back onto the cold, hard ground. He looked down. His leg was twisted at an unnatural angle. Broken. No escape. High above, on the cliff's edge, the mountain lion peered down at him. It didn't need to follow, it knew. Rakai was already as good as dead. His heart pounded. He tried to stand again. Pain. He tried to climb. Pain. He tried to crawl. Pain. His body wouldn't move the way he needed it to. No matter how much he struggled, no matter how much he fought, he couldn't escape. His breath came faster. Panic coiled in his chest. No, this wasn't how it ended. He was Rakai. He had survived everything. He had climbed the howling peak. He had faced his past. He had endured betrayal, hunger, storms. He couldn't just lay here and die. He refused. With a snarl, he forced himself up once more. His body screamed in protest, his vision darkening at the edges, one step, then another. He could still fight. His injured leg buckled. Rakai crashed back down. He gasped, his body trembling. No matter what he did, he wasn't getting out of this. The Watcher. A shadow moved overhead. Vaelor. The eagle circled, watching from above, silent, unmoving. Rakai's fur bristled. "Help me," he snarled. The eagle did not answer. His golden eyes pierced through him like fire. Rakai's breathing grew ragged. "I can still fight. I can still—" Vaelor's voice cut through the air. "And what if you can't?" The words stopped him cold. His heart pounded. No, that wasn't an option. He had to get out. He had to fight. "What if you can't?" Vaelor repeated. Rakai's breath came hard and fast. His mind screamed for a solution. But there wasn't one. His leg was broken. His strength was gone. And the mountain lion above? It was waiting. He had no control here. For the first time in his life, Rakai had nothing left to fight with. And it terrified him. The breaking point. The silence stretched between them. Then Vaelor spoke again, soft but absolute. "The river does not fight the rocks in its path, it flows around them. The tree does not resist the wind, it bends or it breaks. You are at the bottom of the mountain, Rakai, and no amount of snarling will change that." Rakai's body shook. His claws dug into the dirt. He wanted to deny it, to keep fighting. But for the first time, he let go. His body slumped, the tension fading. He exhaled, long and slow. He stopped resisting. The shift. The fear didn't disappear. The pain didn't fade, but the weight in his chest, it lightened. He wasn't running anymore. He wasn't clinging to a battle he couldn't win. He was here, broken, hurting, but still alive. Vaelor finally landed beside him. The eagle's gaze was unreadable. "And now?" Rakai closed his eyes. Then softly he spoke. "Now I wait." A long silence stretched between them. Then, for the first time, Vaelor nodded. "Good." Above them, the mountain lion watched. It lingered. Then slowly it turned and walked away. The first true acceptance. Rakai lay there, breathing steadily. He didn't win. He didn't fight. He didn't escape. And yet he had survived. Vaelor spread his wings, readying to leave. "Rest, Wolf," he murmured. "You will need your strength for the final lesson." Rakai exhaled, watching the sky above. For the first time in his life, he wasn't afraid of being still. And for the first time in his life, he was truly free. Part up, the final lesson. Choose your path. The mountain was silent. Snow drifted lazily through the air, settling onto the rocks and trees below. The storm had long passed. Rakai lay still. His breath was steady. The pain in his leg had dulled, though he knew it would never be the same. And that was fine. For the first time, he didn't try to rush his recovery. He didn't force himself to move. He simply was. Above, Vaelor circled lazily, watching. Then, with a slow and deliberate motion, the eagle descended, landing on a nearby rock. He said nothing at first, just observed. Finally he spoke. "You are not the same wolf who climbed this mountain." Rakai exhaled. "No." Vaelor tilted his head. "Then tell me, Rakai, who are you now?" The wolf was quiet for a long time. Once he would have answered without hesitation. "I am Alpha. I am the strongest. I am Rakai, the hunter, the leader." But now, none of those answers felt right. He wasn't an alpha anymore. He wasn't the same wolf who had led with pride and power, but he also wasn't broken. He wasn't lost. Finally, he lifted his head. "I don't know," he admitted. Vaelor's golden eyes gleamed. "Good." The eagle stood, stretching his wings. "Then it is time for the final lesson." Rakai pushed himself up, testing his weight on his injured leg. It hurt, but not unbearably. Vaelor nodded approvingly. Then, without warning, he took off, not slow, not waiting. Fast, upward, toward the highest peak of the mountain. Rakai hesitated for only a moment before he ran. The climb was brutal, the wind howled, the cold bit at his fur, his leg ached with every step. But he didn't stop, because this time he wasn't climbing to prove himself. He was climbing to see what lay beyond. The peak was narrow, a sharp, dangerous place where the sky stretched endlessly in every direction. Vaelor stood there, gazing at the world below. Rakai limped forward, panting. He had made it, but there was nothing here, no grand treasure, no final battle, just the world. Vaelor turned to him. "Tell me, Wolf, what do you see?" Rakai followed his gaze. Forests, rivers, valleys stretching beyond the horizon, the land he had once ruled, and so much more. "So much I never saw before," he murmured. Vaelor's beak curved slightly, almost a smile. "And now you have a choice." The eagle spread his wings, gesturing toward the vast expanse below. "You can go back to the forest, to your old life, reclaim your name, try to rebuild what you lost." Rakai's ears twitched. Or, Vaelor turned toward the sky, "You can leave it behind." The words settled heavily in the air. "Leave it behind?" Rakai repeated. "The past does not own you. The name Rakai does not own you. You are free to choose your own path." Rakai stared out at the world below. His old life was still there, his past, his name, his pack, if they would take him back. But beyond that? Beyond the forests, the rivers, the lands he once ruled? Something new waited for him, a future unchained, a life of his own choosing. His chest rose and fell, his breath slow and steady. "I don't know where I would go," he admitted. Vaelor let out a deep, amused whistle. "And that is the beauty of it, Wolf." Rakai turned to him. For the first time, he understood. Not everything needed an answer. Not everything needed to be controlled. Some things simply were. The eagle spread his wings, readying to leave. "Wherever the wind takes you, Wolf, make sure you follow it, not fight it." Rakai exhaled. For the first time, he wasn't looking behind. He wasn't clinging to the past. He wasn't trapped in what had been. He was here, now, moving forward. With one last glance toward the sky, he turned and walked toward the unknown. End of part. Conclusion and key lessons. Rakai started his journey as a fallen alpha, proud, angry, and trapped in the past. But through every trial, he learned lessons that reshaped his entire existence. Impermanence. Everything changes. Resisting it only brings suffering. Karma. Every action has consequences. Nothing happens by chance. Attachment and suffering. Clinging to what no longer belongs to us only leads to pain. Acceptance. It's not about surrendering, but understanding what can and cannot be changed. Lessons from adversity. Hardships are not enemies. They are our greatest teachers. Mindfulness. Live in the present, let go of the past, and move forward with the wind. And in the end, Rakai didn't return to his old path. He chose a new one, not for power, not for dominance, but to become something greater than what he was. And you? Will you keep holding on to the past, or will you take the first step toward your future? If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss another powerful journey. See you in the next video, where we'll uncover even deeper lessons about life.